The UFC 289 co-main event this weekend is between Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush. A lot of people are thinking this is the main event or viewing this as the main event, the people's main event. Very entertaining matchup. Personally, I don't like it because I don't want either one of them to lose. I really want both of these guys to win, and it's going to really suck to see either one of these guys lose. It's going to be a 3-round fight, which, depending on how this matchup goes, could be a good thing or a bad thing. I think a lot of people are thinking there's going to be a finish either way in this matchup. So especially a lot of the more recent Charles Oliveira fights, there's been a lot of finishes in there. So there should be a really good scrap. Beneil Dariush, very good fighter, working his way up. I believe, depending on who wins this, this could be title eliminator specifically for Beneil Dariush. I believe the UFC have pretty much guaranteed him that at least for this matchup. I'm not sure about Charles Oliveira. He might have to work his way up with another matchup with another contender before he gets to Islam Makhachev, just based on how that matchup went. But again, very interesting matchup here. Can't wait to see. I think a lot of people are really ready to see this matchup. So let's get right into the detailed prediction and breakdown for this matchup. We have the tail of the tape. We have Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush. Charles Oliveira 33-9, Beneil Dariush 22-4. Charles Oliveira is 33 years of age and Beneil Dariush is 34. Obviously at the lightweight division, they both stand at 5 feet 10 inches tall, and Charles Oliveira will be 2 inches longer in the reach advantage with a 74-inch reach, and with Beneil Dariush having a 72-inch reach. So for this matchup, Charles Oliveira is coming off a more recent loss against Islam Makhachev, where he lost his lightweight title, or I guess it was vacant, wasn't it? It was the vacant lightweight title because he did miss weight against Justin Gaethje in that last matchup. So he did beat Justin Gaethje before then by rear naked choke, lost to Islam Makhachev by an arm triangle, beat Dustin Poirier by rear naked choke, and then beat Michael Chandler for the title by KO. All very incredible matchups, except for the Islam one is a little bit more one-sided, but his 3 wins involving the lightweight title were pretty much incredible matchups. Very fun fights in general. So Beneil Dariush, last fight was a win over Mateus Gamrot on the same Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira card there. Beat Tony Ferguson by decision, beat Diego Ferreira by split decision, and beat Scott Holtzman by a spinning back fist KO. So for this matchup, it's one of those matchups where I believe it is kind of a coin flip. I think Tapology reflects that, and the betting odds reflect that quite a bit. We have to be 55% for Beneil Dariush on Tapology, 45% for Oliveira on Tapology here. And the odds that they're showing is -130 favorite for Beneil Dariush and +105 for Charles Oliveira. That's how close this matchup is. Again, just the grappling, just everywhere in this matchup can be so even. It could go either way. It is really just a coin flip in my mind. I think a lot of people will give Beneil Dariush the edge in this matchup. I don't blame them. I was pretty much having Beneil, or at least picking Beneil Dariush to win this matchup up until about a week ago, where I was like kind of just thinking about like, how does Beneil Dariush win this matchup? Because I can see him dropping Charles Oliveira, but how does he get the finish here? Because realistically, if you're giving Charles Oliveira 3 rounds, you're basically saying, you're hoping at least that he gasses out and that Beneil Dariush is going to be able to do whatever he wants on the ground with him, because there's no way Beneil Dariush is going to be able to stand with Charles Oliveira for 3 rounds. I'll be extremely impressed if he does. But for this matchup, I am going to go with Charles Oliveira. I think he wins this one by finish, probably KO. I think that's the most likely option here if Charles Oliveira does win this matchup. I think he wins by KO. I think he's going to go out there, try and walk down Beneil Dariush. Whether he gets caught or not, I think he does, because Beneil Dariush has really underrated striking. Like, he showed that in his last few matchups. His striking is really underrated. But what I'll say is that although it is very underrated and very good, he does leave his head open a lot. And Charles Oliveira, it could definitely counter on that for sure when he's throwing one of his bigger hooks. And if this becomes a scrap and it becomes less about technicality in the striking, I think Charles Oliveira is going to look a little bit better, even though Dariush could definitely counter with a hook, especially with Charles Oliveira trying to walk him down, keep his head straight, just keeping his head up, just throwing punches, and he just gets counter with the hook and gets dropped. That can most definitely happen, and I think that might actually happen in this matchup, just depending on what happens here. I'll get into what the grappling might look like in a second, but just in general, Charles Oliveira, if he walks down Beneil Dariush and makes this a scrap, what does Beneil Dariush look like? Does he get really sloppy like we've seen him get sloppy before in some of these scraps? Like, I don't know if I would trust Beneil Dariush in a Charles Oliveira pressure, like lots of pressure walking forward. Like, all Beneil Dariush really has is his counter, and it's not going to be like a Mateusz Gamrot situation where Mateusz Gamrot's going to be looking for his takedown, try to point him on the feet, where Beneil Dariush is going to be able to back up towards the fence and look for the counter shots on Mateusz Gamrot. This is going to be straight up, I'm Charles Oliveira, I'm going to walk you down, and basically it's me versus you. Whoever got more power in their hands, we'll figure that out in a second. But I think Charles Oliveira is actually going to be a little bit more defensive in this matchup. I think he learned a lot from the Islam Makhachev fight. It seems like in his press conference, he's like really, really upset about it. And I think he's got something to prove here. An underdog Charles Oliveira, who's only 33 years old, by the way. He's been in the game for a very, very long time, but only 33 years old. He has something to prove in this matchup. He's going to try and walk down Beneil Dariush. Again, Beneil Dariush in his interviews has said that a very dangerous matchup, like he sees Charles Oliveira as a very dangerous matchup, but he thinks that he's going to have some trouble if Charles Oliveira is really defensive and good, like aggressive, like defensive and aggressive, where he's able to keep a good distance and avoid some of the bigger shots from Dariush, but also pressure him and hurt him very badly, which is what he said. But he said he didn't really see that in the Islam fight, which is pretty much understandable because that's pretty much what happened. But again, Charles Oliveira, I think he's just going to walk him down, and especially when he gets to the fence, I think you'll see a lot of like jumping knees, something like very unorthodox. You'll probably see him attack the stomach as well, like some of the teeps to the body. I think we'll also see some knees to the body, and I think we could see a body shot TKO here from Charles Oliveira in the second round, maybe in the first round. Charles Oliveira tries to walk him down, gets clipped with like a hook as he's trying to go after Beneil Dariush. Beneil takes him to the ground, and one of the things, I guess I'll kind of go over this in a second. I guess I'll go over it now, but when I did a stream like a week and a half ago, and I was basically going over this matchup. Someone said, break it down, like, what do you got for this card? I said, I think Beneil Dariush wins. But now I was just thinking about it, like, if he knocks down Charles Oliveira, is he going to be able to pounce on Charles Oliveira like Islam Makhachev was able to do? Because Islam Makhachev is a really big dude, has a Sambo background, obviously a pretty blatant Sambo background, trained since he was a kid with Khabib. Some of the best grappling, best wrestling there is, which him and Beneil Dariush would be a really fun matchup, because I think Beneil Dariush actually might make a really, really entertaining matchup there. But he's going to be a little bit more, I don't want to say, I think he's going to be a little bit more heavier on the pressure side when going for a submission that way. Beneil Dariush is very, very technical and will definitely like work his way around a Charles Oliveira. But when he knocks down a Charles Oliveira, which I think is likely to happen in this matchup, what does Beneil Dariush do? Because Charles Oliveira will pull guard. But what does Beneil Dariush do? Go for a heel hook? Like, do we not think Charles Oliveira is, although he is he's very good at jiu-jitsu, obviously, but like, I think Charles Oliveira won't get caught in something like that. And I think a guy like Islam Makhachev, who is able to use his size and kind of implement that on Charles Oliveira and get him in an arm triangle, is different from what a Beneil Dariush could do, which Beneil Dariush is insane on the ground, insane in grappling in general, has crazy, super crazy freaking transitions, crazy scrambles. We saw that a lot against Mateusz Gamrot. I just don't know if an Oliveira pulling guard, I don't know what Beneil Dariush can really do there, except for kind of just guard camp and just hope not to get caught in a submission, which I think he won't do. But then you have the second round, and you have all the damage that Charles Oliveira inflicted, and the odds of Beneil Dariush catching Charles Oliveira again in the second round is going to get a little bit slimmer for sure, unless you have a tired Charles Oliveira. I think he's going to come out and start going after Dariush again. And once we've seen him, once he gets knocked down and once he gets knocked down twice, he comes back a stronger fighter, at least from what we've seen. And obviously, not talking about the Islam fight, but we've seen him become like a stronger fighter, and he's definitely like more aware. I don't know if a mythical fighter is blind to Oliveira, and maybe he just looks like shit in this matchup, who knows. But I think Oliveira gets this one done by TKO. He does really well in the first round, walks down Beneil Dariush. Probably about say like the halfway point. I think he walks him down towards the fence. You'll see him do a lot of teeps, like jumping teeps in general, lots of knees to the body when he does get to the fence. Beneil Dariush will be looking for counter hooks. Maybe Charles Oliveira does look for a takedown at some point, and Beneil Dariush kind of gets out of the way, which I think Charles Oliveira should stay away from the takedowns in this one, because you really don't want to get caught in a scramble with Beneil Dariush and have him choking you. That's a real worry for Charles Oliveira here, but he should walk him down, implement, like, just put the pressure on Beneil Dariush. I don't want to say freak him out, because I think Beneil Dariush is a very good fighter. I don't think he'd be scared of that, but I think if you make it a scrap with Beneil Dariush, and a lot of his shots, even though Beneil Dariush is already like a very messy striker in general, make it a scrap, force him to make like a lot of mistakes, crash his head forward, do what Edson Barbosa was able to do, and land a knee. Maybe he lands a knee on Beneil Dariush in this matchup, but I think for sure, and just, I don't know if he would flatline him like Edson Barbosa does, because that was prime Edson Barbosa as well. Again, I just think there's a lot of options here for Charles Oliveira to get the victory on the feet. I think if he makes it a scrap, get Beneil Dariush sloppy, I'd say about a little bit halfway through the first round, maybe Charles Oliveira gets clipped with a shot, takes in, then gets clipped with another shot, drops to the ground. I think there's probably going to be about a minute left in the round. I think Charles Oliveira is going to be able to survive it. Second round, I think he just walks down Beneil Dariush. I think he already implements some of the body shots to Beneil Dariush, because I don't know if you can see, my mouse here, but looking at the screen, looking at Beneil Dariush's body, you can tell it's not like Beneil Dariush is a crazy fighter. I love watching him fight, but his body is a little weaker for sure, and you can definitely see how Charles Oliveira can definitely take advantage of some of the body shots on Beneil Dariush, and maybe hurts him in the first round, tires him out a little bit. Of course, he's going to be looking for, I don't know if he's going to be looking for takedowns, but when he drops Charles Oliveira, he's going to be on him. Second round, I think Charles Oliveira is going to be that much more confident. I think he's going to be able to implement some of the more body shots, set him up high, and then hurt Beneil Dariush and then TKO him. Whether that's to a body shot or up high in general, I think he gets this one done. I'm going to go with a Charles Oliveira second round TKO in this matchup. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know who you guys have in this matchup. A lot of people are taking Beneil Dariush, but honestly, I'll be really sad if either one of you guys lose. So, and one of them is going to be losing anyways. But in all honesty, I'd rather have Charles Oliveira win as a fan of the sport, but as like a business-wise, and someone who wants to see like business-wise for the UFC, maybe Charles Oliveira is better winning here. But as a fan who wants to see like really good fights in general, maybe Beneil Dariush is the right guy winning here, because we've already seen Charles Oliveira versus Islam. We've seen how that one goes, but we haven't seen Beneil Dariush versus Islam Makhachev. So let me know who you guys think wins down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.